Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Maiko Sakai, a quiz alchemist and business consultant who helps service providers attract ideal clients through psychological-driven quizzes that build trust, boost engagement, and generate leads on autopilot. With her 10-step quiz creation blueprint and a passion for strategy, creativity, and results, Maiko turns quizzes and quiz building into fun, powerful tools for scaling visibility and revenue. How you doing, Maiko?
I'm doing really well, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk all things about quiz.
Yeah, no, I was excited to have you on. You're doing some interesting things that now I've never talked to anybody about. Like I've seen them, but I don't know anything about them. So
Right.
there's a lot of people out there that I imagine fall into that same boat as me. So was excited to have you on. But start off, where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
So I'm based in upstate New York. I was in the city, so New York City, for a couple of decades, and I worked out of there. I did everything there, but I'm actually taking a little bit of break just to be away from the city, and I'm loving it, really. So quiet, so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, a little too much hustle and bustle. It's good to get out of it.
Exactly.
Awesome. So, if you have friends coming into town, right? Because I always ask people when they're in New York, there's a million options for this, but more where you're at now. If you have friends coming into town that have never visited you before, where are you going? What are you doing? And what's for dinner?
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. And I have this unique problem. There are just thousands, right? Well, it's getting a little bit warmer, but so for that reason, like I might, take some of my friends to like a farmer's market. If not outdoor, then I may take them to Chelsea Market. It's indoor, but a lot of great foods there, a lot of tchotchkes, the goods, the gifts, all sorts of things. It's a fun place to be there. Another one is a big building called the Eatery. I forget how to spell it. It's a play on Italy and eatery. I think it was run by the famous chef, whatever, but it's a fun place to go to. I mean, there's so many places just to walk around, enjoy food. And if we get too full, then, maybe like we'll go to tapas place somewhere in Midtown. Or if it's a full-on meal, gosh, I have to ask, like, is it Italian you want or any Asian? Like, you can pick anything. So it's so tough. But if you're adventurous, I would take you outside of Manhattan, take you to Brooklyn or Queens, if you love like a hole in the wall kind of place. Again, there are plenty of places there. So just ask me anything and I'll make it happen.
Yeah, there's always good choices. It's
Yeah,
too many options, actually.
too
So,
many, way too many.
yeah, I get that. So awesome. Well, what is it that you do?
So my business has took a few different iterations. I started off, so my background when I was in, the corporate days, right? I was working for a bunch of record labels. So I used to work with many agencies like marketing agencies, PR agencies, video production houses and all of those things. So I knew very well about how agencies were run at that time and what kind of challenges they had. So when I left that life, I wanted to cater to them. But before I even got to that, I was doing music licensing out of my business for smaller record companies that could not hire full-time employees to just do that. When I say music licensing, it's basically buying and selling of music to like commercials, like ad agencies or movies and film, that sort of stuff. I loved negotiating, the fees for it. I loved everything about it. But then the demand diminished, so I got into sort of helping agencies to survive. I still do that for, in my business. But then from time to time, I add on to different services, right? So that's where quiz comes in.
Okay, so I guess what made you take on the quiz part? You said things come in and they go, but like why that?
Right.
What kind of made that stand out?
This time around, it was very interesting. So I had no plan of doing that. However, just to rewind a few years back, the quizzes were all the rage among all the marketers, like especially online marketers. And everybody was talking over podcast about, you need a quiz, that sort of stuff. At that time, I brushed it off. Like, yeah, like I need another shiny object, right? I ignored it first time around. Then, like about a year later or so, I encountered this wonderful personality assessment test. So it wasn't a quiz. It was very extensive. It's a paid product. I pay for it to get my results, but I was blown away by it. And that's when this aha moment took place. And I thought about, what if I create somewhere in between? So it's not like a trivial quiz, but it doesn't have to be so, extensive assessment type of test where you need to charge people for it, maybe somewhere in the middle as a marketing tool. So I created my quizzes first from scratch. And I tried to look for all the resources about how to create a good quiz, not a quiz funnel. A lot of people talk about funnels. Great, because it's an exciting topic, right? All the tech stack, what to use, where to go, exciting. But first, I wanted to create a high quality quiz, and there were no resources. Long story short, I made all the mistakes, all of those things, and I finally made it to the finishing line and released my quizzes. And I was amazed at how impactful that tool became for my business. So I was leveraging it as much as possible, many different ways, right? Then some of my clients actually approached me and said, I love your quizzes. I want to have one for my business. I said, yeah, sure, I can help you out with that. That's how it all happened. What's beautiful about it is that I didn't have to validate that idea. It was requested. So it was already validated. So why not just dive into it? That's how it all happened.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that. As things come along, it's being validated. It kind of lets you pivot. You're supposed to go that way and you don't put up a fight. You're like, all right, if that's what I'm supposed to do, that's what I'm supposed to do. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, since you've done quite a bit, what is it that you love most about this in particular?
So it was completely unexpected. I didn't, first, I was worried about being pigeonholed by this quiz person, right? That, she only does quiz. But then I realized I'm a huge advocate for niching down in your business. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet and I'm going to become a quiz lady online. I'm fine with that. See how it goes. But what happened was, as clients came in, I had so many opportunities to give out my business consulting wisdoms to them. So when they're thinking about creating a quiz, I question them about their overall business setup. What is your business model? How does a quiz fit into it? Is it going to be an effective tool? Let's really think it through. So my favorite part of doing this is for me to actually go beyond this process of a quiz creation and get to share my business wisdom over the years that I've cultivated as a consultant.
Okay. Yeah, I can see I can see why you'd really like that. So
Oh yeah, it's
awesome.
fun.
So when you're looking at like your average client or the pain points that they might be going through, that if somebody is going through XYZ, what does that
Yeah.
look like?
Well, they come in all sizes and shapes, but I can identify a few of them. So, for example, especially service providers. So I cater to service providers. I don't really work with goods players like Amazon people or e-commerce people, although they can do so many different types of quizzes, right? I can choose the adventure or product recommendations, all sorts of things. But I like to help service providers because they're selling intangibles, right? They don't get to show, look, this is what I'm selling. No, it's all intangible. And their pain point most of the time is that they've been trying to reach a wider, fresh audience, but they don't know how to pivot from relying on referral basis, word of mouth basis business operation, you know, because there is a huge gap in between, from referrals to acquisition tools and strategies. So they come to me and they say, I've tried so many different lead magnets like checklists, printables, ebook, all sorts of good stuff. They're not bad. But then they realize, they may be able to do a quiz. And I said, of course, it's a far better choice, only because they will do it right on the spot. If they find your quiz, they're interested in it, they'll finish it on the spot. They don't just download something and set it aside. It is a huge difference. So I help them with that. And another scenario is where they already knew the benefit of quizzes and they've tried it, but they got really stalled by some of the things that they have to do in order to make it work, but they didn't know why it wasn't working or they didn't know how to finish it. So that's where I come in to say, these are the steps. And some parts are hard, but it's worth a while for you to go through with it so that once you're done with it, you're going to be proud of it and everybody is going to be wowed.
Okay. What about power partners? What are other industries or other professionals that you synergize really well with, or you find a lot of collaborations or the ability to refer back and forth with?
Right. So my favorite partners and collaborators tend to be marketers or the funnel specialists. Those are the people who set up sales funnels. So they do technology side of things, but what they really can use is the actual content which I provide. Right, I help them create the quiz content. So I partner well with them, and also some of the coaches, like for example, LinkedIn coaches, for example, we share similar type of customers. So I work well with them.
Okay. What advice would you give to a new or an aspiring entrepreneur?
It really depends on what they're aspiring to do. If they are to use their expertise that they cultivated over, their corporate times or anything like that, the biggest thing is that there has to be a mindset shift that has to take place from this employee mindset to entrepreneur mindset. What is the difference? Okay, we've been told over and over again while we were employed that we're not to make any mistakes, right? And we need to follow guidelines and all sorts of things. And we need to be compliant and we have to follow the policies, all those things. But once you start your own business, you are meant to make a lot of mistakes. So you have to experiment a lot, like creating a quiz. That was an experiment for me. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't know whether it was going to work or not. You know, you have to collect the data, experiment a lot, and some things don't really work well. I've gone through a ton of them. But instead of beating yourself up, you need to be okay with that. That's part of the process. That's a huge mindset shift because we're not really used to this, right? Not all of us are natural born entrepreneurs. So you really wanted to pay attention to what worked back then may not work for you right now as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. How can psychological how can sorry, let me rephrase that. How
Mm.
can psychology driven quizzes help attract ideal clients?
It has to be psychology driven. Let me put it that way, right? You're trying to attract a fresh batch of audience. Those people may or may not know your business exists, first of all. On top of that, they may not even be aware that they have a problem that you cater to fix, right? So for those people, everything is new. They don't know you. They may not know that they have a problem or not. It needs to be super gamified. That means it needs to be psychology driven where you will get them to click on the button to take a quiz. There are steps for that psychologically, right? Your quiz title has to be very enticing. I use this term curiosity inducing title, right? Otherwise, they don't take any action. But once they click on the button, throughout the entire experience of a quiz taken, it needs to be gamified, fun, and psychologically driven so that they will go through the entire quiz and they will enter their email address to get the results. Now, even at that point, if there are any frictions there, meaning if the entire experience of a quiz taking is not exceptional and psychology driven and wanting to more, they're not going to put their email address in it, right? I'm sure we all have experience being asked to enter our email address. And for a hot second, we always pause right? I mean, I do. I don't know about you or anybody else, but I pause to say, is this really what I need? Do I really want this by giving up my email address? You wanted to make sure that it's no brainer for them. Like, oh, heck yes, I want the results because I came this far. I'm about to find out more about myself or my problem or my challenges. I'm going to enter my email address in and get the results.
Absolutely. How can business owners use quizzes to grow their email list and build trust fast?
It's the best way to do so. So any business owners listening right now feeling a little bit guilty of not tending to your email list, not actively growing, not adding more subscribers. There are many ways to do that, right? Like a newsletter in LinkedIn or hosting live events. There are many ways to do this, but they're all manual. What's great about having a quiz in your system as a marketing tool is that once it's set up, it's working automatically on autopilot 24/7, collecting email addresses using your quiz, right? So it's hands off. Yes, there is, a bit of front loading work. I'm not going to sugarcoat that part, but once it's set up, it's automatic. So you don't have to worry about not building one. It's building in the background, but you wanted to make sure that you're attracting relevant people, right? Prospects or would-be customers. So your quiz has to be on point. But once you have it, you're going to feel a lot lighter, that you're freeing up a lot of time. You can do other things. You can work on other projects while building up your email list to nurture it. Another great thing about this that I do wanted to share is that nobody wants to be sold to nowadays. But make no mistake, people love buying. They're not giving up on buying. They're still buying things, right? People are still buying things. It doesn't matter what the economy is or anything else. But they don't want to be sold to, and they don't want to be talked at. So what a quiz do is that you can take yourself out of the equation in the whole sales process or trust building process. Basically, you're leaving a bunch of people in the room with your quiz and you're closing the door behind it and let them do whatever they want. So in translation, they're doing their own buy-ins on their own time without me getting involved or you getting involved. It's a great tool to take out this whole pressure of selling to someone. So that's the reason why I am a huge advocate for all service providers to have one.
Okay. Then how can interactive content like quizzes scale visibility and revenue on autopilot?
Yeah, so there's a bit of a work involved with it. You can't really set it and forget it, even though I don't do much for my quizzes anymore. And then I still get email subscribers every month, on average 100 or more. You can even do more by running paid ads. You can do that. Or while you're doing all visibility activities, whether you're speaking in front of a group of people, hosting a workshop, or hosting corporate events, all those things, every chance you get, you just mention that you have a quiz. That's all you have to do. And it's easy for people to remember about a quiz instead of any other lead magnets, right? So yes, there's a little bit of a work involved, but it's not too much. You just have to make it a habit to talk about it every chance you get, and you're just doing the job. And also, if your quiz is really interesting, people are going to start talking about it. I went through that experience and it was really mind blowing. So a handful of people really loved my quiz. They started to talk about my quiz over social media, and I didn't ask them to do so at all. They did it on their own, and they were doing promotion for me. So that was really, really effective and interesting.
Absolutely. Why you? No matter what it is somebody's doing, no matter how niche they get, there's always other people in that industry. Quite a few actually. But what sets you apart from everybody else?
I would say my unique approach is the process, how to create one step by step by step. So, earlier in this interview, you mentioned my 10-step blueprint formula. I created that so that people don't have to waste their time creating quiz. They just, they follow this step-by-step 10-step process blueprint, and they get to create a high-quality quiz. So I have a specific framework for it. I have a specific sort of methodology to create curiosity-inducing quiz questions. I go really deep in it. See, like I'm not really worried about other competitors. Most of them are actually like offering quiz funnel, not creation of a quiz anyway. So that's number one. Number two, what I'm competing with is that those AI tools out there, like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, only because some people believe that once they put their quiz idea into those tools and whatever results they get, they're good to go. In reality, that's the beginning of the real work that starts. So I'm not, saying that you can't use AI tools. Like by all means, please use it. But the problem is the real work starts from there, and you have to do a number of things to make it special. So that's where I come in.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. Is there anything, because I know we could go down all the rabbit holes with this,
Right.
especially when you're talking about human psychology. There's a lot to that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, of
in
course.
general, is there
Yeah.
anything that I missed or that I failed to ask that you wanted to add?
Um, you know, I guess the number one thing that, the people are like hung up about when it comes to quizzes, they may feel like, oh, it's not on my brand. I'm not trying to be funny, or, I'm not, I want to be taken seriously. I wanted to offer my explanation as to why that's not the accurate sort of impression that you wanted to hold on to. Meaning that I care about my brand as well. I want it to be taken seriously, but I do use quizzes. There are many ways to balance those two things, meaning that your quiz can still be on brand. When I say gamify the quiz, I'm not saying that you have to make it funny. I am just saying that you need to make it to be intriguing to the relevant people that you're targeting. So if any of you are feeling like, well, I don't really think a quiz is for my brand or for my company, I would like to say think again, because it's such a great tool.
Absolutely. There's a lot, like I said, that we can go into, and the people are going to have a lot of questions because, it gave me a bunch of ideas just listening to you. So, for
Amazing.
those that have those questions, where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so as you can see, myname.com is my website, and that's where you can download it, 10-step blueprint for free. So that would be the first thing that I would highly encourage you to do it, just so that you get to see the whole view of what's involved for you to create one, right? That's a good start. And it just, I'm in general all over social media, LinkedIn, X, IG, you name it, right? So just send me a message and we'll have a chat.
Perfect. And I'm gonna put that stuff in the show notes so it's super easy to find. Uh,
Fabulous.
Absolutely reach out if you've ever thought about quizzes or kind of interactive things that
Right.
you want to put out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely reach out to Maiko. She's a wealth of knowledge. She's been doing this, and grow your email list. It's important. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The more people that know about it, the better for you. So
Yeah.
absolutely do that. She's a pleasure to talk to. You're gonna walk away knowing more than you did going in. She's the exact same in a one-to-one as she is here. So I cannot
Thank
recommend.
you.
Don't be shy. Reach out and have that conversation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if somebody would like to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Maiko. If you or somebody you know would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time and kind of sharing this with us, because we've all seen them. We've all used them. We've all, been a part of it, but
Right.
a lot of us aren't utilizing that. So
Exactly.
we should, or at least have that
Yeah.
conversation about if we should. So
Yeah.
really appreciate everything that you're doing. Let's
My
all go have an
pleasure.
awesome day. Yeah, and grow our circles, all right?
All right. Thank you.